Hi, Matt.
Greetings, Michael.
You want to do that podcast thing?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, well, we're going to do that, and here we go. Hello, and welcome to Hacking the Grepson. I have no idea what that was. I wouldn't do that again.
My various personalities coming out.
I don't know what I was going with at all with that. It just came out, and I'm like, okay, I guess that we're doing this. Yes, this is a podcast about programming and software development and adjacent disciplines. One of those things, a thing that technology is being used for these days, is generative AI. Now, we talked about generative AI and art creation almost 100 episodes about 4 years ago, if you can believe that we have been doing this podcast long enough for me to state that and it be true. But
I do not believe that.
The data is there. You can look at it. We did an episode 25, called Who is the Artist?, where we basically, I might even insert a little clip from that just to give you context, like right here.
All right, if I asked you to draw me a picture, let's say of an armadillo, because that was the thing that popped in my head when I actually had this question.
I'm great at drawing armadillos.
And you're fantastic.
It's amazing.
And I said, Mike, draw me an armadillo eating a cactus.
All right.
And you drew it.
There you go.
Who's the artist? The person who had
the
armadillo.
Idea?
The person who had the idea or the person who drew it?
I mean, me. I drew it, right?
I think just about everybody would say the person who drew it.
Right.
If I go to DALL-E 2, the AI generating program, and I typed in drawing of armadillo eating a cactus.
Ouch.
And it generated an image, or actually several images of that. Who is the artist?
And as you heard, we were talking about, like, if you tell an AI to make a picture, who is the artist? Are you the artist? Is the AI the artist? Is the training data that it was used on the artist? Et cetera, et cetera. It doesn't have a clear answer. Well, it's been several years since then. Generative AI, which is basically you going to a client of some sort, typing in a text prompt, and it spitting out a novel entity based on what you gave it. That's what I'm talking about here. And you've been able to do that with, obviously, text, code, images, but now you can even make music. And there is a service called Suno, S-U-N-O, where you can do just that. You can basically go there and give it a text prompt and say, I want, a 12-bar blues song about, I don't know, armadillos.
Armadillo that ate a cactus. But don't like to say the title ever, make it him proud. Armadillo.
To call it back to our artist, because we were talking about drawing an armadillo. I want a 12-bar blues song about armadillo. I want it to be medium tempo. I want the singer to sound like he's just smoked a pack of cigarettes before that. I want there to be 12 electric guitars. I want there to be 3 solos. And I want it to end on a really dissonant chord. I don't know. So you can just type all that into a box and ostensibly get a couple-minute song back that sounds roughly like what I just said. And that's
so it's the equivalent of vibe coding.
Yeah, it's like vibe coding a song. And that's
interesting.
Kind of crazy, but true. I bring this up because recently a coworker wanted to write a song about something, and they were like, well, I had this idea for the basic theme of the song. I might have had like an opening line, and I also had like a genre I wanted into. So I went to Suno, I gave it all that information, and it wrote the song, and then he linked me the song and said, and didn't even like say, what do you think? He just told me that kind of pretext and then linked me the song. And a normal person, for some values of normal, probably would have just responded and immediately and said like, oh, hey, cool. That's a cool song. Nice job. Or it sounded cool or whatever. Instead, I kind of had a mini existential crisis. And so I want to talk about that.
before you dive into that, I just kind of want to point out that that is what most people are upset about when they talk about AI, is that is the creative side of it, right? When the things they're worried about are very much from that perspective. Like using AI to write code, sure, that's not an art. But when you get into creating art with AI, that's where people get real freaked out. And I imagine what you went through as part of this.
Possibly. Yeah, when you say that, coding is not an art, I'll push back on that a little bit in that the final product, whether it works or not, whether it does what the specification was, whether I can make a thing with it, sure. That's it's a bit more binary. Like, well, can I or not? And if I spent 10 hours working on it and you can now do it, or did an AI spend 5 minutes and you can do it? Is there a difference? For most people, no. Doesn't matter. Can I use the product? Who cares how it was made? And I think a lot of people, and this could just be because I have been a musician for 30 plus years, i.e. I learned to play guitar when I was a teenager. I started writing songs. I was synthesizing the kind of stuff that I was listening to at the time. Probably a lot of grunge stuff because I grew up, in the 90s. So Nirvana and Pearl Jam and Soundgarden and that kind of rock was definitely like my cup of tea, what I listened to a lot, what I liked the most. So a lot of the kind of stuff that I might write probably was inspired by that. I wasn't rewriting their music. I wasn't copying their music, at least
but
consciously.
You were using it in your brain
data
to generate the pattern
yes.
of the thing you actually made.
Yeah, I mean, the basic idea about how a rock song goes with an intro and a verse, chorus, and a bridge and another chorus, writing a song in a popular music sense is pretty solidified in its structure, which is why so many people complain about pop music sounding so samey, is because they're using the same kind of model to make their music. It's people aren't writing songs that have intros that are 5 minutes long, one chorus, and then the song is over. Like, that's not generally how a pop song works.
And it probably wouldn't do well if it was as a popular song.
Right. As a song that would play on the radio or, at a club or on your Spotify list, yeah, that probably wouldn't get as many plays as something that stuck to the time-honored over the last, century of music being made. Regardless, when I listen to music, a large part of it for me, and once again, I don't know if I would feel differently if I had not picked up an instrument when I was a teenager and I just consumed music and I didn't make it. I fully admit that my reaction to my coworker sending this to me and forcing me down an existential hole is a large part of that, is that part of me now. I can't ever extricate that from me. I think about music much more analytically than probably most people do. I think about how it was made. I think about who made it. I think about that person and what they bring to it and their context and their trials and their interests and their eccentricities. I like to read up on bands that I like the music of. I like to know who's making the music. I like to know where they come from. I like to know what their influences are. I don't think this is that different from people who, say, watch a movie and while they're watching it, bring up Wikipedia or IMDb to look up the actors and what else have they done and, what's their deal? And, why are they acting this way? Oh, because they're Norwegian. I didn't know that. Or, I don't know.
That's what I do the entire time I'm watching anything, is I have IMDb in front of me, especially if it's a cartoon, because I love learning that about voice actors. Like, oh, who is that? I recognize their voice.
Yeah, I think the meta quality of art is very important and has always been important, even before we had the internet to look it up. Knowing why Michelangelo, did the Sistine Chapel and why he did it the way he did it, and how he had the means to do it, and and how people interpret it now. Those are all extrinsic to the fact that there is paint on a wall and it looks like a thing
or a ceiling,
or ceiling. Yes,
that is actually really interesting, right? Because learning, for me anyway, and it sounds like you're similar about this, at least with music. I love learning the why behind things. And I like learning the story of how something came to be if it's something I find, even if it's not something I find interesting. If I'm in a new country wandering around and I see an interesting building, I want to know its history, at least at a surface level, like a overview, because that informs my viewing of it, the way I see it. I might look for something different. It tells me implicitly what nuances to look for.
Yeah.
And in the case of music, maybe here, right? If someone tells me like, oh, Taylor Swift wrote this song in this way because of XYZ. Oh, now I'm listening for that. It's about this person, or it was a play on this concept. Oh, what did we just watch on TV the other day? That was, I can't remember what it was, but it was Star Trek. It was a Starfleet Academy episode. Mm-hmm. And they mentioned in the book The Great Gatsby as a play. Oh, no, sorry, not The Great Gatsby. Our Town. Mm-hmm. They mentioned Our Town, which we had just seen at my daughter's school because they had done a production of it. Prior to that, I didn't know anything about Our Town. But it was very clear, having seen it, and the fact that they referenced it even briefly, that they were doing that structure and that kind of like sort of narrative flow and like small intimate stories. Like, it was very clear that was how the episode was being done. Mm-hmm. And that, for me, was fascinating. And if I hadn't known that, if I'd never seen Our Town, for example, I think I actually wouldn't have liked that episode at all. Because I've been like, what is this weird? Why are they doing it like this? And as soon as you know, like, oh, it's intentional, for me, that grabs me in a way that it wouldn't otherwise.
I love the word you used, intentionality. That is a great segue back to where I'm at in the existential hole of this thing that my coworker sent me. So it was made in this service called Suno, like I was saying, and the intentionality of an AI, of a computer program that has been, it's just like ChatGPT. It's an LLM that's been trained on tons and tons of audio data and has tons and tons of metadata, so that when you send a text prompt, it can kind of extract the tokens out and know how to create the thing it's going to create so that it fits statistically the kinds of things that you put in your prompt. And you could say, well, that's what humans do. If I were to give that text prompt to a musician, say, give me this 12-bar blues with a guy who sounds like he smoked a pack of cigarettes and it ends on a dissonant chord. If someone told me that, I could make something that sort of sounded like that. And so you could say, well, what's the difference? What's the difference between an algorithm doing that versus me, a human, doing that? And I think that's kind of where the existential thing comes from, is that AI is, what is the right word? It's like codifying. It's taking all of the data, which is a lot of data, and that's why AI has done so well in the last 5 years, is that it got access to tons and tons more data than it ever did, which I think is why it's so much better now. It's sort of like, oh, well, it needs a human-sized level of data to actually output something useful and Turing test passable. Well, you can do that with text, you can do that with images, you can do that with audio. It's all data. Like once people started making digital audio on a computer in a database that can be codified, that can be categorized, that can be tagged, that can have analysis run on it, sure, why couldn't you create something like Suno? And so it's like, it was kind of inevitable that a system like this, I think, if you're going that direction, would be made, and that the output of it would be good enough. I haven't even said that yet. Like, I listened to the song, and yeah, I mean, it sounded good. It sounded like a song that if I had just heard on the radio or heard, somewhere else, I would think, yeah, okay, a human could have made this. Knowing that it came from Suno, much like you in the Our Town example, immediately put my brain into a different mode and a different kind of analysis when I'm listening to it. I'm like, oh, an AI made this. Well, I'm already thinking of it differently than if my coworker said he made it.
Because now you're analyzing it for like, okay, well, what artist did it rip off here? And like, where did it? Oh, that sounds a little bit like, even though, like you already said, that's how humans do it as well. When we're creating, we are synthesizing all of the data that we have collected from listening to music or viewing art of some sort or what have you. And then our pattern recognition in our brains is synthesizing that data and then filtering it through the lens of the thing you're trying to create and creating it, right? It's effectively what these AI systems do, but we view them very differently as people. And I think there's a reason for that. But
Right.
we'll cover that in a sec.
Right. So this goes two ways. Sorry, I could go back to the intentionality of it, which I think is what we were initially taught. What I was sort of rambling around is that the knowing that a human made it, knowing that they intended to make this because they had a lived life of experiences that led them to this place where they're like, I would like to express myself this way, using music, using these instruments in this genre, at this tempo, with these changes, with these lyrics, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There is a human to human interaction that we are making. Yeah, they're using technology to record it. I mean, a guitar is technology. Like they could be making it by just singing from their voice and hitting the ground with their hands. I mean, if you want to get rid of all digital technology that you could make a song where they say, come over to my house, I'm going to sing and I'm going to hit the ground with my hands for the rhythm and percussion. Okay, this is about as human to human as we could get. You don't even need the hitting the ground, just the singing. I mean, I think that was probably like the first human to human musical interaction. And as we have gone through the years, that has gotten, kind of abstracted away to the tools more and more. So now I'm using, I can't sing very well, so I might use like a synth that can sing, and I can give it lyrics and it can sing it. I learned to play the guitar so that I can have some kind of melodic, rhythmic element behind the melody of just my voice. That was technology. That was an instrument. But I intended to do that. I'm like, this is something that interests me. This is a way that I can express myself. So I'm going to spend years learning this tool so that I can now proficiently play a guitar and then sing over it or have someone else sing over it. So it's collaborative, It was all intentional.
You can take this idea that's in your brain and create something with it.
But the AI is not
the way
a
you
brain.
want to do it.
The AI is not a brain. Suno's servers are not sitting there pondering the greater mysteries of life, as far as we know. I don't know, maybe they are, thinking, I have an impulse to express myself. So I'm going to make this 12-bar blues song with a dissonant chord at the end and a vocalist who sounds like they smoked a pack of cigarettes. Because that's how I want other beings to understand how I'm feeling. Like, that's not a thing that AI does or was built to do.
AI doesn't have that sort of creative genius. Now, if you said, make a song to express this feeling and gave it no other input, it would produce something, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be that necessarily. And it might not capture the way you felt. This is all about prompt engineering in that case, which, we talked to death in episode 25, but it's still the case here, right? Your friend, your coworker who had this idea for the song, they were the ones who had the vision of what it would be, and then they used a tool, this AI, to create that idea, take that idea and make it a reality and that could be done with a number of things, right? I definitely want to talk a little bit on the subject about from like a writer's perspective. I'm not a writer, but I would like to be, and I have written things, but they weren't good. Filling that gap of like what you can do. Like I assume your coworker is not a musician and doesn't have these skills. So having the AI do it is not all that different. I mean, it is, but it's not all that different than you going into whatever you use instead of GarageBand, Logic Pro, and like pulling up a drum beat. Being like, I don't have a drum set here. I'm going to make this thing do that. Right? Or going to I could go to the keyboard I have sitting in the other room and stand it upright and plug it in because it's not doing anything, and hit a button and it'll start playing a samba beat for me that I could then play over, right?
Yeah.
And people have been sampling things forever. A lot of even some classical music have homages to previous things, right? Where I don't know where that line is drawn.
So I think all your points are valid, and I think the actual issue here is the other side of this. It's not the intentionality. It's the hole that it made me go down into, which is, I know it's taken a while to get here, but I kind of had to work my way through it. The technology is so good that my coworker could do this. that he could just say, hey, I want a thing to exist that doesn't exist, and I'm going to get there by just expressing it in the English language.
Yeah.
What that means is that, for me, in the time period that we live in, it makes me feel like the 30 years that I spent learning how to make music the non-AI way, however you want to put it, not that it was wasted, but that because I enjoyed it, regardless of whether anybody else cares that I did it, I enjoyed it, but that there doesn't seem the part of my identity ever since I started making music has been taken up by my ability to make music and to make it using the tools that I have learned over years and the craft, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It definitely feels like that advantage that I thought I had has been taken away. The thing that makes me, Michael, the human, interesting and useful and noteworthy has been reduced to what my coworker sent to me. Like, there is no need for me or anyone else like me who feels that way about themselves and that advantage to exist as much, and in 10, 20 years, maybe at all. Because if I want to hear a new thing that doesn't exist, I can just go the Suno way, and I can just make music that I like exactly the way I want to. I don't need other people to spend time learning music and become influences. That video I linked you, the Adam Neely one, where he was basically listening to interviews from the guy, the CEO of Suno. One of the things he said that, rubbed him the wrong way and makes me think a lot is that once technology is good enough where everybody can just make the music they want to listen to, and we don't need artists to make it, the only thing left will be taste. The only thing that will differentiate people is their taste in the music, because those who can make the music, it won't matter anymore because everybody can make music. And, you could extrapolate that to code. It's like, well, if everybody can build the next whatever great web project by vibe coding it, then that advantage that you and I have spent years building and crafting and improving will not matter anymore. And sure, that has happened in the past. It's not like that's a new thing where people's ability, that the person who was really good at operating the elevator back when that was a thing, I feel bad for him because we basically put him out of a job by...
That's what technology does.
Yeah, that's what technology does.
It makes things obsolete. So I'm going to interrupt you for a sec if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Because I had a lot of thoughts as you were talking. It's hard for me to
sure.
keep thinking otherwise. I am glad you brought up vibe coding, because that is almost precisely what I was going to counter this with. Because I disagree with you fundamentally about artists not being needed because AI can do a thing. Okay. So what I think it means is that the definition of artist broadens. So people can make art out of like a collage, but they didn't create the images that the collage is being created from, right? That doesn't mean what's created there isn't art. And they can do that by hand and like systematically choose this image goes here, this image goes there, and I like the way this looks because they have a very specific creative vision that they want to see. Or they could say, here's 10,000 pictures, make a picture of Abraham Lincoln or whatever. It's about what matters in the process to you as the creator is what I think boils down to. So I don't vibe code things. I don't say, hey, I have this idea for a game, go write it for me. Mm-hmm. And that's because that's not interesting to me. It might be. If it gets really good at it, I might be like, I have an idea for a game I want to play, and I don't feel like writing it. Can I just do this? Just give me this so I can play with it and just write. And that's fine. But when I'm building something, software-wise, I am very mindful of what is being built along the way, right? I don't just slap a prompt at it and go away. I actually walk the AI agent through the steps that are important to me that I would take, right? Mm-hmm. I want this piece of it to be reusable. So I need this to be its own module. So I'd have the AI create that module specifically. Or like our game dev stuff, I'm starting from like, I want to build a game engine that I can build stuff on top of So it works the way my brain does. And so the result of that is very different. But more importantly, the process of it is different. You don't create music, I don't think, because you have a need for other people to hear your music necessarily. You create music because you enjoy the process of creating music. Is an artistic expression for you. I can go watch improv all day, and that's fun. But at the end of the day, I want to do it because it scratches that itch in my brain, that creativity itch. And I am going to produce something that no one else would. Why? Because it's me. And AI, and I've done improv with AI. Like, it's not that hard to make that happen. And it does a decent job, and I could train it to do even better. But it's nothing like performing with a person from my side of it, because what I'm getting back, the and to the yes, is mundane is the wrong word, but it's almost predictable. Right? There's no, and I could tell it go more wacky and go random. I can get it there. Like I could train an AI agent to be the type of improviser that I would want to improvise with. But I still want to do the improv. Like I still want to be the one in, like, if I created two agents and had them make an improv scene, that's not interesting to me. It might produce something funny. I don't know. Might even be worth watching. I don't know. But that's not why I do improv. I don't do improv for other people. I do improv for me. I do improv because it's fun and it's interesting to me as I build something. Much like the art side of software development, it is the part where it gets down into the how and the why and the internal desires and trade-offs, what's important to me. And you can train an AI to capture all of that, and it's still not gonna be you. If I was a writer and had novels, I could have it ingest all of those and produce something in my voice, and it's still not gonna be what I would write. Right? And I wouldn't get the enjoyment if I had enjoyment from writing, which I don't, which is why I want to talk about that in a sec. I wouldn't get the enjoyment of writing it.
Right, the process.
Right? That process of taking this thought out of my brain, crafting a sentence, because that's the part where I do not use AI the way other people do. I am precise about the words I use when I'm writing, even in just like Slack. I am very mindful of it. There's a certain structure. None of this is intentional per se. It's just the way my brain is wired. I don't like the way things sound when I run them through AI because it'll like clean them up grammatically and it like sort of normalizes it. And that doesn't capture what I find enjoyment, especially in like crafting a joke. I find enjoyment about the way I make it and like just that discovery process. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I guess my rebuttal to that is that once the technology gets good enough, as we were just saying in a previous episode, perfect is the enemy of done.
Yeah.
People are not going to care about that process. They're just going to care about the output. And if they can make the output themselves using the AI, there's going to be less and less desire for people who have spent their whole careers perfecting and crafting that thing. Like
maybe,
and everybody will be in these little bubbles where they're, it's kind of like inbreeding. It's just like it feeds on itself in a bubble with no outside, influences. And, it will be a billion, 9 billion microcosms as opposed to one global stew, which as we know with genetics, variety is good.
Spice of life.
Yeah. So I guess that's kind of like, I guess my question to you is like,
this is already a problem with humans, by the way, this bubble.
Yes.
You can take AI out of this equation entirely.
Yeah.
If you never listen to any genre of music other than country and you want to write a song, you're going to write a country song, right? And you're going to hear other country songs and be like, oh, I like what they did there. I'm going to do that in my country song. And you're never going to grow out of that. The more isolated you are, the less creative you can be.
Yeah.
That's a corollary to my you have to feel safe to be creative.
Yeah, you have to have trust to expose your soul.
And so, like, I don't see the AI thing as being all that different from that perspective, because I agree with you. I think it's easier to fall into that trap now. It's going to be easier for AI to do that. And the monetary part of this is a big problem, right? Capitalism, blah, blah, blah. See every other episode we've ever done where I talked about capitalism. That's a societal problem that we are imposing as a society. The fact that, oh, well, it can be done easier that way doesn't really matter if you don't have to worry about the ability to distribute it and sell it or whatever. If you're just doing it because you have a creative idea and want to express it, then it doesn't matter how you're doing it.
Okay, so when my coworker did this and he sent me this link to a song he made. I mean, yeah, on one level I'm like, cool. They were creative. Good for them in any way that they can be creative. But the existential part of me is like, wait a second. Why in the future, once this technology gets good enough, because, it still has some issues, but it's pretty dang good already. Why would they learn an instrument? Or why would they care that I learn an instrument? Why wouldn't they just... Well, yeah, but the thing is, like, why... If my ask is, I want a new thing to exist, taking 10 years to learn an instrument and composition to write that thing so that it exists is way more effort than going to Suno and you have it in 5 minutes. So why wouldn't everybody do that?
I have been writing software or learning software for literally 40 years. Literally. And that's not hyperbole. Like, it was 1986, maybe 87, but I'm pretty confident it was 86 that we got our first computer. I don't have a problem with other people being able to slap things out that do the job that they want, because there's always other things that need to be created. There's hundreds of billions of songs out there, I'm sure. Like, if you were to catalog all the songs that have ever existed, you're not hearing all those. You're not interested in most of them. People create garbage all the time, but they create it because it's something that is meaningful to them. And if you can do that in a different way, if you could produce something, sure, you've spent all this time learning guitar, blah, blah, blah. And that's an interesting skill. It's a good skill to have. But, maybe someone that has the same instincts as you 20 years from now is going to sit down in front of a computer. People already do this, by the way.
I know.
They don't play the guitar. They go into GarageBand and they open up the guitar instrument and they do these chords, right?
Yeah.
Is that making music? Is that art? Yeah, absolutely. For me. Is it, and it doesn't trivialize what you've done with it, with your ability to play guitar. I think that's very impressive. I have tried to learn guitar. It's friggin' hard. And I don't have rhythm, so it kind of defeated the purpose. I learned after a while. But it's interesting, and I learned something. My brain changed from the act of learning guitar. I understand things in a different way. If I play it more, my muscle memory will change. My fingers will get dexterous in different ways. You are changed by the act of creating in little ways. And I don't think that's ever going to go away. But how you create, it's like I've been referring to AI as just a higher level programming language, right? When you vibe code, that's basically what it is. Someone that was writing code on punch cards, looking at what we do today with coding using Claude Code or whatever, that's not coding, right? But it is, right?
Yeah.
So it's still making a song, and someone has to have that idea, that nugget of that vision, right? Of I want it to sound like this, or I want to challenge myself to do this kind of thing. I make stuff all the time that I could just buy for cheaper. I bought a bunch of wood yesterday to make a frame. Why?
Yeah.
Because I wanted to build a frame. I have a vision of what I want to make. I think it's fun to make it. I like to learn the skills. Does that trivialize? Do I need to do it? No, not at all. Zero reason for me to do this other than my own personal enjoyment of it.
Yeah. The trivializing word also, that it's hard for me to let go of once again, I don't regret that I've spent the time learning and playing and writing music because, like you said, it was fun to me. But maybe the fault is with me and the way I've thought about it. In that I am a significantly better and more interesting human because of it. And if I didn't do any of that, and instead at 15, I just started, and Suno existed, I just made all my music in Suno for the last 30 years. All of my music was AI. And I said, here, go to my Bandcamp page for all my Suno created songs that I just wrote a text prompt for. I didn't learn any music. I don't know how music works, whatever. I just know what I like. And I put forth that as like, I'm the music guy. If you need music, I'm your guy. But
you're never going to get exactly what you want that way.
But that's the thing is, I think it will be enough for most people.
For most people, sure.
Yeah.
But
and
when you
hopefully
have an
not
idea
for my
for a
friends.
song,
Hopefully it's self-selection where I'm not friends with people who would think that portfolio was as good as my actual portfolio of music that I have made over years. I don't know.
well, and the important thing there is, like you said, the computer is not coming up with the idea for this. The person is coming up with the idea for this. They're still having that creative idea of like, oh, this would be a cool song. I don't know how to make a song, but I would kind of want it to be like that other song over there. But with these lyrics, maybe I want to write the lyrics myself, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe you've got a poet with no musical talent and wants to turn their poem into music.
Yeah.
Cool, right? They had this idea and they're still inputting that bit of creativity, that spark. And again, going back to like, it changes your brain. You learning music, same with my brother, who's been a musician his whole life, makes your brain work fundamentally different than mine. I never learned music. I have no rhythm. I have less of an appreciation for listening to music because I don't have that fundamental understanding. There are still tons of reasons for wanting to do these things. And I imagine what would happen, because this is very true for me anyway, is you use this tool. You build this thing, you take this idea in your brain and you get it out on paper and you're like, that's almost what I want. Why isn't that right? I need to understand music theory better. I need to understand how guitars work better. And this even is true for like the GarageBand example. So I don't think there's ever getting rid of human creativity. I think if you get to that point and you get to the like Wall-E scenario, as a society, as a civilization, we're lost. But I don't think people are like, I don't think everyone is certainly not like that, right? Yeah. Some people are going to be fine with mass-produced garbage, be it from AI or a pop band who was put together by a corporation because they knew it would sell.
Yeah.
That doesn't make the thing bad necessarily, but you're not going to get that variety that you were talking about without it.
Yeah.
You're enough, Michael.
Well, so
you're actually a very talented musician. I have zero talent with music.
Well, thank you. Well, to turn the spotlight around, you mentioned this in the context of writing, and I'm curious where your thoughts are on that.
Yeah. So I'm coming at this from a writing perspective because I'm not a good writer. I know this about myself. Fiction writer specifically. I actually am a pretty good. I can write a pretty good essay or article or
I would
a
agree
humorous
with that.
anecdote. I'm good at those things. But if I want to write a book, I want to, and I have this trouble. You have to experience this with me GMing all the time. I often end up giving you guys details that you shouldn't know because that's as far as I've gotten with it. And I'm like, I want someone to yes and this idea.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's how my creative process works. I'm a yes and I need a writer's room to work.
Yeah.
Really. Like to really be creative, I need a partner. And as an introverted, autistic person, that sucks. But also just like I've written many short stories. Well, I've written several short stories.
You should share some with me.
throughout my life.
I don't think I've read any of these.
Because I wrote them in high school and college. They're
well.
old and I haven't touched it since then. Okay. I don't have the skill, the craft necessary to produce what I would want to produce. Mm-hmm. But I have so many story ideas that I want to not necessarily even write. I want someone to write them because I think it's a cool idea to play with. And I'm like, I want to see where this goes. I have ideas. In a perfect world, I would sit down in a writer's room and just hash it out, and then I wouldn't want to write it. I'm actually working with a friend of mine. We're on pause while he's going for his doctorate right now, where he is a writer, but he doesn't have like the comedy sensibilities and the training there that I do. Mm-hmm. So he and I are working on a thing, and I took an old book idea I had, and he and I were like, this would make such a good TV show. And like, I don't know how to write that. He knows how to write screenplays. So we could take my idea and feed it in through that. And we started to do that, and it was really fun. I'm like, this is great. Well, what if I don't have that person in my life? What if I can't afford to hire somebody to do that if I don't have that person in my life? But I still want this thing to exist. I still have this idea. I still know where I want to take the story. So I'm on the side. I'm from the perspective of your coworker in this case, I think, right? I'm not the person writing, except I do have some experience writing. But I know that I am not talented enough as a writer yet, hopefully someday, to really write a book. But what I could do is take my idea and, just like I write software, go through it piece by piece. Here's the overview of what we're doing. Here's the nugget of information. Now, I want a character. Let's call it Ben. Or I can't come up with a character name. Give me a character name, right? Now, let's have a chapter to introduce it. I'm kind of thinking this way, right? I can talk about that, like what I want this thing to be, how I want it to look when it's done, without knowing the precise way I want the words to be written. And certainly what would come out of that is a draft, because I will absolutely punch up the dialogue, because I am good at that part. That's the part where I do have training. I'm almost 20 years into doing improv at this point in my life. I have a lot of training with that aspect of writing, because improv is performing and writing at the same time, right? But then I always self-censor when I start going down this route of like, I could just have Claude write this book for me the way I just described. And it feels like cheating. And it's going to rob me of the experience of writing. But it does get me over the hurdle that I struggle with to get into it. Because I struggle with starting things because I over-engineer everything. See previous episode. And I want it to be perfect from the get-go. And I know you can't do that in writing. You have to go through drafts. Yeah. But I hate writing the drafts. I'm a really good editor. I'm not a great writer. So taking something and then massaging it through my lens and then producing something feels like it's right in that, it's in that gray area of like, am I writing this at this point? I don't know.
Who is the
it's
author,
my idea.
Matt?
Yeah. It was my idea. I even instructed the machine how to organize it. I can't think of the right word. But like
structure it.
How I want the structure. That is the word I wanted. Thank you. I'm telling it how to structure it. I'm just not writing the actual words, but I am taking the words that it wrote and making them work the way I want. So like, did I write that then? I don't know. And that makes me feel that existential piece, I think, that you are a little bit of like, well, it's more important that I learn this craft. And I have spent time trying to learn this kind of thing. Like, why can't I use that to just do it? And the answer is because I will get bored before I get to the point of actually doing anything. Just like we were running into with our game dev. And so, like, if you view AI as a tool, it's not as bad because it's still a human behind the scenes at the creative piece of it. But I think a lot of it comes down to, like, you mentioned, I want a 12-bar blues song about an armadillo. I don't know what a 12-bar blues song is. And I love the blues, but I don't know what that phrase means. I vaguely understand what a bar is. But I don't really understand it, and I don't have an intrinsic understanding of it. So I wouldn't even know what to ask for. Because you have to have some level of understanding. Now, what you could do is say, hey, I really like this song over here. What is this? Like, what is that?
Yeah.
Right?
Make more like
I want to
that.
write a song in that kind of style, but maybe a little bit more funky. Oh, okay. Like George Clinton. Yeah, sure. Right? And like bringing all that together. I don't know. That's my ramble.
Yeah. No, it's a good ramble. You bring up a lot of good points. And, you know, I definitely came in more hot on this than I feel now. I think what's happening is that we are kind of living through one of those fundamental changes in how we think about society and who is the author, who's the artist, who is responsible for a thing existing. And that's always been, I don't know if that's always been so important. Like early man, whoever, invented the wheel, like who cares? Yay, the wheel is here now and everybody is better off for it. So does it matter? Like
He invented it, but did he build it, or did he have his buddy build it? Hey, I had this idea, but I'm not good at stonemasonry. You need to do this.
And should that person, now be a billionaire and live on a hill in a mansion, or should they just be like, hey, good job, Dave, and then you're still like us? And
or a little bit of both.
Yeah, well, and I think that's the thing is that because I think I've made being creative and making music such a part of my identity that it feels like more of a personal attack than a technological attack when I think about these things. It's hard to separate, much like how it's hard to separate the art from the artist. It's hard to separate myself from the artistry because it is such
In the process.
yeah, it's such a big part of my identity, and I like that. I like it being part of my identity, and it feels weird knowing that I valued it at a certain level, and now I'm being humbled, like without my consent. I did not ask to be humbled by this, but I'm being humbled. Like, hey, yeah, you learned the guitar, but lots of people learn the guitar, and hey, this computer can also bust out a rad solo that sounds good enough for most people. So maybe get off your high horse a little bit.
Okay. So question.
Okay.
Kind of tying back into your billionaire concept earlier. Let's take a product that is in fact owned by a billionaire, but I don't think that they created it. Starlink. Right? The Starlink system is owned by Elon Musk. I think it's under SpaceX, which he also didn't create, right? But he had the idea for it, maybe. In fact, he bought companies that did it. But still,
lots of companies do that, though.
Companies in general, someone has an idea, but they aren't the one making it. So it's like, my CEO create the software that I write? No. Did I write all the software but did I write the whole product? No. I did a piece of it somewhere. Yeah. They did a piece of it. Now, we as a society incorrectly reward the wrong direction on that. But, that again, that's a societal problem. That's not an intrinsic issue with the process itself. Someone leading a team is a necessary piece of creating this process. Someone having the idea is a necessary piece. Someone creating the thing is a necessary piece. But as a whole, like the larger system you look at, the more complicated it becomes. Who made this, right? Could you design the Mona Lisa by committee? Probably not. Someone had the vision.
Yeah.
But what if Leonardo da Vinci didn't have hands and had to tell somebody how to paint it? Is it still his art? I don't know. But these are the analogous situations that I have in my head when I start thinking about these that make the water so muddy. And you and I both were raised in the age where individuals could make entire games, software pieces, whatever, that we used, and we're like, oh man, Ron Gilbert is so cool because X, Y, right? He made Monkey Island, right? It's so cool. Well, now those things aren't created by one person; they're created by a huge team of people.
Yeah, yeah. I love how 100 episodes later, and we still don't know the answer to who is the artist.
Because it's not a real question.
Well,
because those terms have different meanings. Terms change over time. What do we mean by art? What do we mean by artist? What do we mean by creator?
Right. Well, and it's also like you said, even you go on my Bandcamp and you see 40 albums, and I've got my name on all of them. But the computer I used to make a lot of them, I didn't make. I didn't design. The instruments I play, I didn't build them. Everybody needs help. Rarely is ever any entity created of any reasonable complexity that is made by one person. It's just not possible. Yeah. It's like the iPencil famous article, that no one person knows how to make a pencil. It takes 100 people to make a pencil, even though it seems like a simple object. Yeah. Because we realize that distributing the knowledge at least helps build things and helps build things at scale. And so is it really just, it's, like you said, it comes back to a societal issue of how we've framed and structured creation and ownership and all that kind of stuff. So we're kind of caught in that.
Right.
Into that
and
thinking.
Some of it comes down to what's the best use of your time? What's the piece that you like doing?
Yeah.
Right? If the part that you like doing and playing music is the act of figuring out how to take this idea in your head and translating it into music. Well, what if you just wrote the sheet music for it and then fed that into a computer? Did you write the music?
I mean,
Yeah.
I wrote the instructions, but the orchestra compiled it, or no,
Exactly.
interpreted it.
Yeah.
The orchestra is
Exactly.
Python.
Yeah. And that's why I equate writing code in AI to just a higher level programming language. Because if I think about it that way, I'm doing it, I get better results out of this situation because I'm not expecting this thing over there to be this brilliant, creative, perfect developer. They're just doing the boring part for me. I don't actually necessarily enjoy writing software anymore. I really enjoy the process of coming up with ideas for and designing and, more importantly, refining software to make it more usable from a user experience. Like I pivoted my actual area of like expertise out of what I had been doing towards UX because I think it's so important. And like writing internal developer tools lets me flex that muscle on a small enough scale where my horrible crippling anxiety doesn't get in the way of me doing that because lower stakes. I don't know where I was going with that, but like it's taking the boring piece out of it. I want to write the software, but I'm like, I have to go through 10 different files and change this variable name. That's not coding. That's tedium.
Okay, so final question, because I mean, I don't feel like there's much like episode 25. I don't feel like there is a immensely satisfying answer to this question because, like you said, it's not a real question with a real answer. It's more of a ponderance. But let's say that my coworker and I, or me and someone else, were tasked with like, hey, we need a new song. We need a new theme song for this show that's coming out. And I don't know, rounded up a bunch of musicians. We sat in a room. We wrote the music. We practiced. We recorded it. We recorded it multiple times. We sent it to them. They're like, okay, that's cool, but can you change this? We went back, we recorded it. It was a big old process, took weeks, whatever. But they were super happy with the theme song. My coworker or my friend goes to Suno, boop, boop, beep, beep. 5 minutes later, yeah, that's pretty good too. We'll take that.
Good enough.
Yeah, it's good enough. Like, which one? But you are the deciding factor in which one we use, Matt. How do you decide which one to take? Like, if they're both of
But
equal...
I'm not the deciding factor. I'm the person who asked you to write it.
Okay, well, you're
scenario,
also deciding
right?
which one of it to choose.
So
And
I
they're both
would
roughly
actually,
the same goodness.
I would. I mean, it depends. Do I care about quality or do I care about money? Well, guess what? I care about quality. I'm going to go with the humans because that's going to produce better quality. But if you used AI as part of that task, if you're like, I can't figure out this guitar part. I have this, but it's like I want it to be just a little bit more blah, right? Mm-hmm. Like I can't find the right word for it. That equivalent, right? That's cool. I don't care. I don't care how you do something if I like the end result.
Well,
Right?
the AI...
Now, you're more expensive.
Yes.
As a team of musicians,
We would
it's going to
be
be a lot more expensive and take a lot more time.
Uh-huh.
So it's trade-offs, and it's what I care about as the person creating it. And that's why I go back to the societal problem here.
Yeah.
Like the
what is your
actual
incentive?
issue with creativity is that I value human creativity more than I value speed and efficiency for something like that. But if I had a big meeting with the producers of the show and I'm like the creative behind it and I don't have a theme song and I quickly hop into Suno and say, I have an idea for a theme song, something like this, and put that out as a demo of the overall idea or to help sell it, I don't see anything wrong with that either. It's all about your needs and your desires. What's missing there is like, you have an idea for a song. You want to create this song. You decide how it's getting made.
Yeah.
And what's valuable.
I think in the end, while the pragmatic part of me agrees with you on, use the right tool for the right job, and it all depends on what your incentive is, like whether you want this to be a homegrown human thing, or you just want something that's good enough and the AI will give it to you faster, so I'm going to go with that. I guess the existential part that I can't drag myself out of completely is and like you said, this is a societal thing. This is not just this thing. This is the trend towards good enough garbage, or that's pejorative. Because like I said, the song that he sent me was fine. It sounded good enough. Will be good enough for enough people enough of the time that there will be a major downtrend in even the caring about asking for the other option of the humans that have spent time and will give you maybe a better song. I don't know. Maybe their song is worse than the AI. Maybe they're not that great, but they still spent 2 weeks on it, and they tried their darndest, but they still didn't come up with anything that was better than the AI did in 5 minutes, because it has all of the training data of all the music that's ever been recorded. Who would go with the human option after a certain point if that's the trend? And that's what I worry about, the trend, not really the idea of it. The idea of it is neutral, but the trend is what I worry about. And that's what I can't drag myself out of completely. I don't know.
Yeah, and that does go back to like the need to make money off of something, right? The need to sell it quickly, the need to
be efficient,
produce it cheaply, right?
Yeah.
All of those things go together. Those are not part of from a philosophical point of view, they're not part of the art versus artist thing.
Yeah.
From a practicality standpoint, they absolutely are.
Yeah.
And so I 100% recognize why artists are really worried about AI, and I agree with them. And to some extent, our industry in software is already experiencing this.
Yes.
I can write so much more stuff. I can produce so many more artifacts, software, changes, bug fixes, anything because of AI than I could 2 years ago. And what we're seeing because of that is hiring has dropped across the industry. And that's a problem. But we also have people who can't get a job, who are sitting at home using the same tool, potentially producing something that's better than all of this, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know. But it all comes back to that. It comes back to, are you less because a computer can do what you do? No. Are you in a more precarious financial situation, societal situation than you'd be otherwise? Yeah. And that's a worry. A legitimate worry that we need to worry about.
Yeah, and putting software development, which is the actual income, aside, and just thinking about the music side, this is exactly why I did not make music my career, because it feels much more precarious now than software development. Because the good enough argument for art that just needs content to fill requirements is, rough. Once the technology gets good enough to where you don't have to spend the 3 weeks on the 5 humans writing and recording the music. I mean, it's hard for I can't argue against it. It's hard not to, if the technology exists, why wouldn't you use it? Like I said, the existential thing I had about this was more of just the trend of not even caring.
No, it's worrying
that this option will exist in the future, So what have I been spending my time doing? I don't know. Was it all for nothing? Partially, it feels like it might be. I don't know. Partially.
We'll see. I write better code through AI than someone who does not understand the fundamentals of software and who hasn't been doing this for 20, 30 years, 40 years. Right? What I'm creating is of a different type of quality. It has a different care factor to it. It's got a better user experience to it, generally speaking. But most of the stuff I do, that doesn't matter. Who cares? For the pop garbage, great. Produce it through AI. I don't care. But you're always going to have something that ultimately relies on some level of experience with the actual product being, or with the actual way of creating the thing from scratch, right? Do you understand how guitars are made? Like, do you understand the process of like what goes into it from a woodworking perspective?
I mean, on a real surface level.
Yeah. And that's about where I have it too. But that matters, right? When you're trying to get a certain resonance out of the sound of your acoustic guitar, how it's built and how that works matters to you.
Yeah.
Even if you didn't build the guitar, and understanding how the guitar works leads into that. Similarly, even I have the knowledge that how the resonance the guitar puts out can be different, and how it has different effects and how it affects moods and all this stuff, because I, as someone who doesn't understand music, have studied up on a lot of this, so I do understand it, because I don't like not knowing things. Right? But it matters, right? It matters that people exist that know how to do these things still. And I think that's always going to be true, because you won't get that real transformative change without that, until when we get artificial general intelligence and Aggie, maybe then, because then it'll be like, I want to write a song about blah. But even then, like, you're still going to have an idea in your head and need to describe it to that at a level that meets your needs. And that might be that you play a song and then feed it in, like, clean that up for me. And it might be, here, I wrote this 10-page markdown file that explains exactly what I want this to do. Please produce this for me.
Yeah. I will admit that I have thought and even asked ChatGPT about if I wanted to create, Nebubot 3000, where I feed it all of my music and it does the thing. And then I say, okay, make me a new 3-minute song in the style of this. Yeah. I will admit, I'm curious to see what that would be like, what that would output. There is no.
You should do it.
Well, there's no one LLM that does that. Like, unless you have some cutting edge multimodal thing.
Yeah, you'd have to build your own model out of.
You'd have to build Suno. You'd have to build Suno, but with just my music as the training data and nothing else.
Use this data model.
Yeah,
don't use that data model.
I'm curious what that would be like, so that, like, hey, even when I'm dead and gone, my descendants can be like, you know what? I really wish Dada or Grandpa would make a new song, but he's not here anymore. Well, let's just hit go on the Nebubot 5000 and pop out a new thing. I don't know. It's.
I mean, I would love to make a Matt bot that is literally the ability to, like, think like me and respond like me, so that when I'm dead, people can still have that experience. And is that me
have
then?
the Matt experience.
Yeah. Like, what if my daughter wants to talk to me after I'm passed away?
I'm
That's
pretty
the closest I could come.
I'm pretty sure there's a Black Mirror.
There are
or
many sci-fi stories about
that
this.
that have that exact kind of plot line, and it always it's not a good thing. I
right, because it's easy to catastrophize.
Well, and also I'm a big proponent of stories having a beginning and an end, and that includes me. Like, there was not me, and then there was me, and then there was not me anymore. And I feel like a lot of human beings have a very hard time letting that go. And thus, we get Tupac holograms and, brains in a jar. And I think there's something unhealthy about that obsession. Yeah. But I get where it comes from. So,
like, I don't want to live forever, but if someone wanted to say, pick my brain on improv, right? I have a lot of thoughts about how to make improv good. I've studied it from multiple different directions. I've read up on what makes things funny. I have my own personal experiences of things. I have my own preferences for what I like and what I don't.
Yeah.
And I can extrapolate that out to, like, what audiences would like. They don't need me forever, but, like, it's cool that people would ask me. I'm going to be better at it than ever than dumping that information into a computer, because I can't take my subjective knowledge and perfectly translate it into a Matt brain, Matt GPT. That'll never be perfect. But when I'm dead and gone, if someone, one of my old students is talking to their grandkids about AI, and they're like, Matt Mesterman was really good at that. I wonder what he would have said. And they pull up Matt GPT and ask.
Yeah.
I think that would be amazing. That's like writing down all my ideas in a book, but it's interactive.
Yeah.
And it's not me. And I don't want it to be me. I don't want to live forever. That sounds awful. But the idea of being able to have my knowledge live on forever and that impact being able to be made, someone being able to create a Nebulae song, that's cool. Just release it on my death, not before then, so that I can keep doing it.
Oh man. Well, I got to say this has been one of our better, if not best, discussions, because it kind of went big and small, specific and broad. And I'm glad I brought this up. You did make me feel better in general about this thing. I mean, I ended up just saying to my coworker, just by the way, I just said, "Hey, cool song, man," and then they didn't respond. So I'm not sure what they were looking for from me, but I guess that was enough. And I guess in the future, that's what I will say as well. And I will try not to be a negative person and say like, yeah, well, you could have learned to play music instead, because that sounds really cringy now when I say that out loud. Yeah. It sounds bad. It sounds okay in my head, but out loud it sounds cringy. I don't know.
You remember how against AI I was.
I
know. Even
know.
at the beginning of this podcast.
I know.
Right? And a lot of it came from that feeling of like, I can write better software than that thing, right? It came from that. And like, why can this idiot over here who doesn't know anything just pump out software? It's crap. It's garbage. And then I realized like, wait, I can use this thing to make myself more better. And that's when that was the switch for me. I was like, oh, it's a tool. Sure, they can produce whatever they want, but I can produce whatever I want, and I can do it better because of my experience. That for me was the switch that flipped, that ultimately like made me change gears on my view on AI.
I never know whether to say switch that flip or flip that switch. I go back and forth.
I changed gears. I flipped the switch.
I toggle.
Switch flip.
That's when I toggled.
There you go. I toggled the switch.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for your thoughts on this, Matt. I appreciate it.
Likewise.
And I think that does it for this episode of Hacking the Grepson. Thank you for listening. We try to put out an episode every other week on Wednesday. You can find them at hackingthegrepson.com. And until our next discussion, we now return you to your regularly scheduled lives already in progress.